Well, hello and welcome to I Love Gay today. And this is a special edition. We're here live in Denver right after the new year. And now we're here with Joe Foster. How are you, Joe?
I'm well. How are you?
Very good. You and I have known each other. We've met at NGLCC events in the past, but mostly it's the oddest thing is that one of his best friends is my husband's cousin.
Yes.
And so I hear about Joe Foster this and Joe Foster that over the last few years, just probably more than you want me to say in this interview.
It's quite all right.
But no, the first times that I know he was, I hear your name come up, but you were in New York and you were working at GLAAD.
Yeah, so I was in New York right after college. So after college, I did a stint of being a flight attendant for a couple of years, and then I worked in theater and fundraising, and then got into the LGBTQ rights scene with Lambda Legal for a couple of years. Then went to GLAAD for a while, and and then eventually from there AmFAR, and then found myself here about 2 years ago working for the Matthew Shepard Foundation, and I'm now at the Center on Colfax, which is the LGBTQ center here in Colorado.
Yeah, so you're very active in the LGBTQ
Very
space.
active. Yeah, I always say I've been gay for pay for about over 10 years now, so I'm pretty familiar with the scene at this point.
But what do you do at the center?
So I'm the Vice President of Development and Communications. So I'm in charge of all the fundraising aspect of the center, so we can make sure our programs are well funded. And then I handle the communication portion, which is pretty much directing the strategy of communication strategy, whether digital, through the press, marketing, what have you. So it keeps me pretty busy.
Yeah. Well, that's how I knew a lot about what's going on in Denver. Just almost, we spend a lot of time paying attention on Twitter because that's with the I Love Gay Network. It's one of our things. But you guys do really good at communicating what's happening there through social media and especially Twitter.
Well, thank you very much. No, I appreciate that because we put a lot of work into it.
Yeah.
No, we do a lot. So the Center on Colfax has 3 major programs. I would actually venture to say about 4 major programs. Mostly our biggest program is our Sage of the Rockies program, which is an affiliate of the National Sage Organization, Services and Advocacy for Gay Elders. So it's for LGBTQ elders 50 plus. We provide programs in terms of just coffee groups. We do like chair yoga and a lot of events. They come to the center and just to kind of not feel as isolated as they have been in the past, sense of community for that group. Then we have the Rainbow Alley LGBTQ youth program, so it's just a drop-in space for our youth. Every year they take like a summer academy where they go around Denver and just go to other businesses who have LGBTQ employees to tell them, hey, this is what you can do even though you're LGBTQ, and it kind of gives them a sense of direction of where they want to go with their life, and also just kind of being with other LGBTQ kids. Then we have our transgender program services, which is pretty much for our trans and gender affirming community who can get together and for support and other programs as well. So we're pretty busy. And on top of all that, we are the ones who produce Denver Pride every year.
Which is a big one.
It's a big one, and this year we're very excited we're actually always in the 3rd week of June for Denver Pride. But this year, so we can make sure we're not coinciding with the Juneteenth celebrations and Father's Day, we have moved our Denver Pride to the last week of June. So now we're playing with the big boys in San Francisco and New York. So we're very excited about that.
But it's hard to tell even what's going to be happening in the real world when it comes to June. So I guess crossing fingers that it'll be able to, even here you'll be able to do that.
Yeah, I mean, so with the pandemic, there's a lot of unknowns. We know as much as you do. We hope our federal government is able to put a plan in place in the next couple coming weeks, and so we're planning for all scenarios. It's a budgeting nightmare to try to plan for 3 different things. But we're doing it, and I think whatever it's going to be, it's still going to make people feel like they're part of something, and we'll bring them together in some aspect, for sure.
Was it virtual in 2020?
It was virtual in 2020. So we, Denver Pride, we start planning the day after the previous Denver Pride. So soon the next day, we might get a day off, but we start planning for the next year right away. So back in April of 2020 is when we kind of knew it wasn't going to happen. So we had to kind of wait for the city to tell us it wasn't happening. And then when they finally did, we pivoted to a completely virtual scenario. We had a lot of performers like Monet Exchange who were supposed to come to Denver, and Monet was very gracious enough to record a video for us, and then Jackie Cox got on board and did a video for us, and so we took every aspect of Denver Pride, whether it's the Latin stage, even the circuit parties that happen at night, all of it. The 5K as well, went virtual. So people were able to run their own 5Ks. They were able to have their own little parties in their apartments. And the one thing we're most proud of is our virtual parade.
Yeah.
So, the parade is the time for us to kind of recreate, that 1969 type Stonewall like uprising, the marches that followed. And we were able to put that into a virtual scenario. And it was kind of like, a bunch of TikTok videos, but a lot of people just expressing their love and their strength for the community. And it went off so well. We usually get about 500,000 people that descend into Denver for that weekend, and we had about 365,000 people tune in for the entire weekend. So we're very proud of it, and we're very excited for what this year can bring too.
I think that's it too. I've learned that that all of us on all walks of life have learned a lot, during this in 2020 when it comes to doing things differently. But we're even talking to NYC Pride right now because even though they could get back into a normal Pride as well for 2021. The things that they've learned for what they did virtually, the productions that they had, some of them really resonated well. So and as you were saying, you're able to also reach not only locals but people outside the area. And since they just came off of World Pride, so they're like, we like reaching people outside of New York. And so they're looking at, that's what this show was born from, things like that. It was very organic as far as like, let's just give it a try and see what would happen.
Exactly. No, it's always been our goal to be accessible to all LGBTQ Coloradans.
Yeah.
But it is difficult for people to come from all over four corners of the state. I mean, I'm from New Jersey, so you get through New Jersey in about 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
Here, you're barely in the mountains. So, but it's difficult for some people to be able to get to Denver. There is a cost to it too, and it's hard for a lot of people to be able to really do Denver Pride in person. So we did learn a lot, and we learned a lot not just for the center, for our programming going forward when we reopen in hopefully this spring or summer.
Yeah.
We're going to be a hybrid of a virtual and in-person programming. We're redoing our conference rooms to be able to have a Zoom aspect to it. People can, if they can't make it, they can be there. One of my favorite stories is there's a gentleman who is in his late 80s who comes to the center, and he'll travel 90 minutes by bus just to come for an hour coffee meeting and then travel 90 minutes back. And now with things like what the pandemic has taught us is we can be virtual in both areas, and people can tune in whenever they want to. And especially that means for Pride too, where people, if they feel isolated in their small town in Colorado, right way on the western slope, they can tune in and just really be part of something or feel like they're joining in on the fun. And I think that's the one thing that we're most excited about, is to really make Pride available to every LGBTQ Colorado, because we are Colorado's LGBTQ community center. Even though we are in Denver, we do pride on ourselves to be the largest in this region, and we want to make sure that we're as accessible as possible.
I love stories like that. It's just in the sense that, because it's stuff we know, but I think once we think about it more, especially what we've gone through over the last few years, the internet has made us more connected. But and that's where this 80-year-old gentleman will come in because he wants to feel connected. Yeah. And but the change over the last few years is not only are we connected, but we can collaborate so much more. Sure. And the collaboration tools have just changed everything in terms of how we communicate, how we work together. And I think the pandemic just sort of forced us to learn things that we didn't even think we were capable of.
100%, and it really has shown us things that we never really thought of before, and also kind of got rid of a lot of stereotypes in terms of our community. I talk a lot about our Sage of the Rockies group for the LGBTQ elders, and they, out of all of the programs and all of our community members at the center, they adapted to the technology and virtual portion of our program easier and faster than anyone, because they weren't about to let being stuck at home stop them from having their weekly chats and their writers groups. So it's really astonishing. It's very heartwarming to know that people still want to be connected in one way or another. They're not going to let this pandemic or being stuck at home stop them from doing what they want to do and being who they are.
I love all this.
Yeah.
No, and I really appreciate you're able to take a few moments and share some of your story, and also let people know what's going on here in Denver, and especially the work you're doing. So,
thank you.
Well, thanks so much for being here. And I often end by saying I look forward to connecting with you in the real world, but we're here already.
I know, pretty much exactly.
But no, it's the new year, and it just started. And so hope you have a wonderful New Year's weekend, what's left of it here.
It was great to be here, and thank you for inviting me out and being part of this, and thank you so much, and enjoy the rest of your trip in Colorado.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.
You too.
So good, coming back again, but in love.